Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Be like 20. Just moved to LA on a whim. Looking for work. No one's hiring. Running out of money. Find a listing on Craigslist for an entry-level job. Show up to the offices for an interview. The whole building is weird. Shit looks like a warehouse for storing boxes of t-shirts or something. In the interview, no one discusses what the job is or entails. I'm desperate for work and somehow pass the interview. I come in the next day to the workspace. Shit is still weird. A group of about 25 of us in a medium-sized room with uneven tables lining the walls. The guys in charge come in to talk about the job. 2 normal guys, and 1 close to 7-foot overweight guy with foreign accents, all dressed in suits. One of the normal-sized guys looked like he had seen the gates of hell. They were Armenian. I learned that the job is some kind of telemarketing. We were cold calling numbers from public records that belonged to private residences being foreclosed on. We had to ask them questions to find out if they had accepted an illegal loan and convince them to come into our offices to negotiate litigation against their banks and prevent their houses from being foreclosed on. I start to feel like I'm in over my head. I learn the job is very competitive and that the offices cut loose anyone that doesn't secure at least 1 meeting per week. But the pay is good and I'm desperate for money, so I stick around. Our phones are old Toshiba laptops with magic jacks hooked into them. I pick it up pretty quickly, despite never in my life having done anything close to it. And I get offered a contract. I read the contract and find a lot of the wording fuzzy, but I sign it anyway. Probably should have read it better. Over the course of a week, I start to notice certain people aren't showing up. I ask the higher-ups about it and they always change the subject. I start getting paranoid. I realize it's some fucked up pyramid scheme and that my dumbass signed a contract. Walking home from the bus stop and get approached by a person asking me for a light. I hand him my lighter and the guy says, "Thanks," and we begin talking. The guy ends up being a pretty down-to-earth dude and we talk for a while. He asked me why I looked so mortified when he first walked up. I hesitate at first but give him the whole story. He tells me that even if it seemed like the money was good, a job that made me look the way he had seen me wasn't one worth keeping, and that I should quit. I decide he's right and convince myself to do it. I called one of my bosses up on my cell that instant. The guy that answers is the huge dude. I told him that I very much appreciated the opportunity they had given me, but that I couldn't handle the stress and wasn't going to be coming to work again. He tells me I'm overthinking it, and that he'll see me the next morning. I get really confused by this and just tell him again that I'm quitting. He continues to tell me that I need to just forget it and come into work. I told him a 3rd time that I was quitting. Suddenly I hear him arguing loudly in Armenian with someone in the background. Shit, shit, shit. The dude I had been walking with asks me what's happening. I cover the phone receiver and tell him they don't want to let me quit, with the guy on the phone still arguing in Armenian. He reaches his hand out and asks if he could have a word with them. I handed him my phone, visibly shaking from panic. He begins to speak to my bosses. He tells them he's a friend of mine and that he was very sorry to inform them I wouldn't be coming in again. I can hear them start to argue in Armenian again from where I'm standing. Out of nowhere, this complete stranger I'd just met begins to speak in Armenian back to my bosses. What the fuck? He holds an obviously very fluent conversation with them in a stern tone for about 3 minutes. He switches back to English and thanks them for their time before hanging up and giving the phone back to me. I'm almost completely speechless. I asked him what happened. He only tells me he just let them know that I had people in my life that cared about me enough to keep track of where I was and that I had nothing to worry about. He thanked me for letting him use my lighter and told me to take care before continuing down the street.
The best nopes are due to the craziness in the world. I've run into plenty of out-of-the-ordinary scenarios. Some are paranormal, I guess. But for the most part, they deal with real humans. Be 16-year-old me and a friend urban exploring. Urban exploring in my definition means climbing on top of or into buildings or fenced-in complexes. We decided to climb into a nearby middle school, a 2-story prison-looking building. Getting on top of the building was a hell of a task, but we're finally up there. Just a tiny jump, then we're into the building. Pitch black except for all of those exit signs. So luckily, instead of pitch black, it was mostly black with red light highlighting everything it could. Just kidding, it made it eerier. We're exploring the school when we hear a door shut from the other end. And you all know how those school doors sound. Cha-chung. There was no mistaking someone else was in there with us, or just left. Frozen in fear, we wait a good 2 or 3 minutes. No other noises, so we decide maybe now's our time to get out. We start our way back up to the 2nd floor talking about what the fuck it was. We just got in the stairwell when we heard, "Hey, is somebody there?" We can't tell if it came from above or below. Frozen again, trying to listen for footsteps. We can only hear our heartbeats, thinking it's a cop. I motion to my friend to keep going. I know someone's there. The person's tone changes, very authoritative. "Oh, fuck. Where is that coming from? I heard you talking earlier." Just how you imagined reading it. "Don't think I won't find you." Towards the end of the sentence, we realize it's coming from the 2nd floor, right around the corner. My friend and I just book it. "Ha ha 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 ha. Where do you think you're going?" As we're running towards the front, I see some side doors and pull my friend out. Alarms are going off, but we're still running. We parked half a mile down the road around a corner. We finally get there and cheese it. A few days later, I'm watching the local news. See a story about a maintenance worker who was arrested. Apparently, he was fired from his job, but continued to have access to the facilities after hours. Cops responded to alarms and found him in the parking lot high on meth. He used to be the janitor of that middle school.
Be about 20. So basically, be about a year ago. I'm trying to find a new apartment or something to move into near my new school. I can't find one. I find an old rundown looking place and the dude is trying to find someone to buy it. I don't want to buy it, but I tell him I'll rent it. He wants to put me on an insane lease. I tell him I will sign a 6-month lease and not a day longer than that. I sign it, get moved in. It's cheap, no biggie. I guess he hadn't lived there in a while because it didn't have electricity or internet or anything. I get on the phones and start trying to get the basics hooked up to my new house, but it will take a while. I buy some candles and get a book to keep myself busy until I have my computer and stuff. I have my phone playing music on the coffee table around 2 a.m. while I am reading on the couch. It's fairly dark in the room. All I can see is around me and a little bit of the kitchen. The bedroom and bathroom are totally out of sight. One window next to the front door, one in the bedroom, one in the bathroom, one on the door that leads out the back, near the washer and dryer. I start hearing rustling in the bushes outside the front door. Must be a raccoon or something. I just moved in. I don't know if they have pests. I think nothing of it and go back to reading. I keep hearing rustling. It's starting to get annoying, and paranoia is starting to bother me. I don't think I lock the door. I get up and press the button in the knob to lock it. I sit back down and start reading again. I start hearing a sort of scratching at the door. All the while, the bushes outside the window are still going crazy. What is going on? I start hearing what sounds like a sick dog or something. Rumblings, hard to explain, just dog noises. The hairs on my neck start to stand up. I look at my phone and turn the volume all the way down. I consider blowing out the candle and acting like nobody is home. What the fuck am I thinking? All the blood sinks out of my chest when I realize I hadn't locked the door in the back or the windows in the other rooms. I pick up the candle and start creeping to the back. All the while, a slow rumble and noise is still coming from the front door. I lock the back door. I go into my room. Nothing in there but my mattress on the floor. I lock the window. On my way to lock the window in the bathroom, I realize the sound has stopped. I notice the bathroom door is shut. I didn't think I shut it. I try to open it. I almost scream when I realize it is locked. I start to feel like I am losing my mind. I feel the overwhelming urge to call someone, my parents, a friend who lives in town, anyone. My phone is on 3%. I dial up a friend fast as all hell. No answer. I start to hear the weird dog noises from my bathroom. I've had enough. I hastily blow the candle out and drop it, and dash for the door. I fumble along the wall for a sec before flinging the door open, just as the sounds from the bathroom start to escalate. I run into the street and keep running till I get to the school's library, about a mile away. I go to the top floor and wait there till morning. I come back and the bathroom is trashed and there is weird stuff everywhere. Not dirty, not mud, I'm not sure what it is. I called the landlord and he won't comment on any of it. Finally, I lived there as long as I had to. It wasn't so bad once I got electricity and stuff, but I still heard some weird noises and things sometimes, usually late at night, but one time around 7 a.m. The landlord put some bars on my windows and a cage on my door. Didn't put one on the back door for some reason, for free, and it made me feel more uneasy. Sorry if it was anticlimactic, but I wasn't ready to be a demon slayer or whatever it was. If you have an idea what it may have been, let me know.
Alcoholic, unemployed, lazy, no ambition. I couch surf between siblings until they get frustrated and throw me out. This continues for about 2 years. My mother invites me to come live with her. Sure, why not? My mother forces me to become sober. I get a job, I get on my feet, I get my own place, I get a girlfriend. My mother dies. I drop into depression. I hold out as long as I can before I break and buy a bottle of bourbon. I take it home and contemplate drinking it for almost 2 hours. I finally decided to go ahead with it. I dust off an old souvenir shot glass and reach for the bourbon. The full, unopened 750 milliliter bottle of liquor flies off the coffee table, straight into the wall. Bourbon, glass, and nope cover the floor. 3 years sober this year. Thanks, Mom.
Well, it looks like the thread's dying down a little bit. I guess I'll go with some things that happened to me and my friends at our mutual friend's house throughout the course of high school. For privacy reasons, I'll use their nicknames, however weird they may sound. Chilling at my buddy Frodo's house, big Lord of the Rings fan, also a short hairy dude, with our other friend, Binky. Can't remember how he got the name, had it since 7th grade. Frodo and Binky have been friends longer than I've been a part of the group. They tell me a few stories about spooky happenings in the house. Frodo refuses to go into his basement alone at night. He has named the ghost he believes is in his house Bill. The night goes on, and eventually it reaches about 2 a.m. We're all up playing Vidya, Binky and I in the living room, Frodo in his bedroom. Frodo's dad worked almost every single weekend and would stay with his grandmother up to weeks at a time in the summer. So we always had his house to ourselves and would ditch our families for days and weeks to spend consuming tons of junk food and Vidya. The topic of spooks and Bill is brought up. I'm new to the whole thing and openly state I think it's bullshit they made up to get to me. Frodo's door to his bedroom at the time had been off its hinges and leaning against the wall by his room, as Binky had gotten drunk at some point and attempted to climb it. Yeah. Mid-conversation, we hear an extremely loud bang and scraping come from the hallway, followed by Frodo screaming, "God damn it, Bill!" We found his door laying on the floor in his spare bedroom at the far end of the hallway. Frodo watched it fall over. Then once it was fully on the ground without any momentum left from the fall, it slid off down the hallway into his room. We all slept in the living room that night. I have plenty more if you all want. Been months since the door incident. Plenty of other spooks have happened in the house, and I'm used to them now. At peace with Bill. There are woods behind Frodo's house that run the entire length of a large creek. The woods are sizable, but are completely within the neighborhood and are surrounded on all sides by backyards and houses. My friends inform me of what they've dubbed the Banshee. Apparently in those woods at night, sometimes they would hear blood-curdling shrieks that would move around. At one point before I knew Frodo, his older brother, who is now a cop, and his ex-military friend had heard the noises, collected some rifles, and attempted to find out what it was. According to Frodo, they left the house, and an hour later came scrambling back into the house through the back door in the basement, missing their flashlights, and refused to say anything about what happened. They heard the shrieks again, but much closer to the house. The day after, they found large scratch marks on their door. I saw them myself, so I can assure you they're real. Years later, his brother had moved into the house, and I asked him about it myself. He paled up and refused to tell me either. So this particular night, we've reached our dipshit group mentality and decide to go into the woods. We gather up flashlights, knives, and one of his brother's pistols. We head out the back of the house and sneak across his neighbor's backyard to the woods. We crash through tons of thick underbrush, dry creek beds, and briars until we reach a large cleared strip that runs through the center of the wooded area. Like those cleared areas of forests and woods where they run telephone and power lines through. Except there were no poles anywhere, just tall grass. We find a raised manhole and an old basketball. We crash around, act like dickish teenagers in general. Nothing going on, mates. Suddenly, from the far end of the cleared strip, we hear rustling and branches breaking. All of us have stopped cold and are now training our flashlights where the sounds are coming from. There's nothing there. I notice a tree branch fall into our lights. It's in the fucking trees. All of us look up to see something dark and tall, hopping between tree trunks coming directly towards us. We engage fear mode and run. We ran and didn't look back and met up on Frodo's front porch, cut to shit from the brush. I still wonder to this day if any of his neighbors ever had to deal with that shit. 1 or 2 years after the Banshee incident, Frodo's older brother is now living at the house. We'll call him Cobb. Me, Frodo, Cobb, and Binky are hanging around the living room bullshitting. Once more, the subject of spooks and Bill comes up. I ask why no one ever goes into the basement by themselves. They explain that when you go into the basement, lights have been known to flicker, and things will move, fall, and these hobby-trained set parts their dad collected would turn on and off, with or without batteries. All of us decide we want to take some flashlights, recorders, and cameras and mess around in the basement. We shut off the lights and entered the basement. We take some pictures, record ourselves asking Bill questions and shit. Nothing really happens until we go into the laundry room. The feel of the room has definitely changed. We start getting hit with small rocks that seem to be coming at us from nowhere. We leave the room and take more pictures. No results. As we go into the final room of the basement, Frodo and I hear someone talking coming from the far end of the room. At the exact same time, we both mention this. Cobb's flashlight, which we put new batteries into right before going into the basement, shuts off. Everyone nopes back up the stairs and slams the door shut. We checked the flashlight and couldn't get it to come back on until we put in another new pair of batteries.
Isn't much, but what the hell. Be sometime last week, staying at my girlfriend's house for a couple of days, hanging out with her and her twin sister in her twin sister's room. Her puppy is staring at the wall and sniffing it. I joke about him finding a ghost. My girlfriend doesn't play that shit and scolds me. Later on, we notice an item being in the room where it wasn't before. I bring up the ghost and get scolded again. Later that night, we're trying to get some sleep in her twin sister's room. Me and my girlfriend are cuddled on the memory foam mattress we brought from her room. Twin sister is asleep in her bed. The pup is asleep in his cage. And I'm trying to get some of the blanket from my girlfriend 'cause she hogs that shit. I feel her tug the blanket twice, and after the second time she tells me to come closer to cuddle more. I noticed she sounded as if she was gonna cry. I don't pay much attention 'cause she does that to be cute sometimes. Next morning, she brings up how the previous night after she tugged the blanket away from me, she felt the blanket being tugged away from her. She went on to say it was tugged from the end of the bed, and how when she went to pull some of the blanket back, it wouldn't budge, and she had to yank it back to her, which frightened her. Hence why she wanted me to hold her. Instant nope, 'cause I don't play with ghosts, especially the ones who steal blankets.
A week ago, I came home late, around 3 a.m., because I was on the radio. My friend hosts a college radio station late at night, but that's not important. I opened the door. I started to feel this really weird feeling that something was behind me. The hallway to my dad's apartment is really spooky looking at night, so I just chalked it up to me being a pussy. I walk in the front door. It's pitch black in the apartment. The apartment is really small, and from past experience I know if I turn on a light, someone will wake up. And if I wake my dad up at night, ever, for any reason, it becomes the biggest deal, and he gets really pissed. Usually, he doesn't wake up if it's just a phone light, so I turn on my phone's flashlight. The feeling is still there as I navigate towards my room, but I sort of just shake it off because I'm so tired I would have shaken off a bullet wound just to get to my bed. I'm about to walk into my room when I see one of my dogs just sitting in the room next to mine. Dead center of the room, he is just sitting there looking straight ahead. Usually at night he just sleeps on the couch and doesn't wake up when I come in. I decided to go over. Not sure why. Honestly, I just walked over to him even though I was a second away from blissful sleep. I get close enough to see his face. His eyes are full of just raw, animalistic fear. I've never seen anything like it in my life. This was terror in its purest form. He was shaking so hard he almost had motion blur. The feeling that something was behind me starts getting stronger. It almost feels evil in nature. I still think I'm just being a coward. I just think to myself that he must think I'm an intruder, even though he literally never has before. He starts growling. I've only seen him growl twice before in his life. He just doesn't really do it ever. He's more of a barker than a growler. It starts to freak me out a bit, so I'm just standing there waiting for him to chill out, because if he barks, my dad will wake up and be a dick about it. The growling gets louder. I'm standing completely still. I've never heard a dog growl like this before. It was blood-curdlingly loud and fierce. Seriously, my dog is tiny. He is a 15-pound Boston Terrier. Even his barks are nothing. At this point, the growling is so loud I can't believe my ears. It's like a wolf is growling at me. The feeling now is so intense that I start to actually believe it. I move to the side a little bit towards my room. His head doesn't move. He is just staring out into the black expanse behind me, growling in fear. Even when I thought he was growling at me, he wasn't fully looking at me, more like slightly to my left. Tension builds for about 5 seconds of intense growling. Out of nowhere, he suddenly stops. 3 seconds of the most intense silence the world has ever seen passes. A door creaks behind me and I hear movement. No one in my house is in any of the rooms behind me. Nope. I run to my room, shut the door, and block it with a box full of recording shit. I sleep with the lights on. Since then, I've been thinking about it a lot. The only other times I've seen him growl was around 3 a.m. in my room when it was dark in my old house. Maybe whatever it was in my room at some point.
When I was younger, I lived with my parents near LA. After the riots, we moved from Burbank to right around Simi Valley. My dad isn't one to scare easily. He was in the Korean War, then was a cop for a few years, and then did odd training jobs for police and military, and also would take the occasional job as a bodyguard. Our new house had an incredibly long driveway. Occasionally, me or one of my siblings would see someone walking up towards our house. We would always go get one of our parents to tell them someone is coming over. They would go check and there wouldn't be anyone. We heard the boy who cried wolf story hundreds of times. One night, the whole family was sitting in the living room watching TV or playing a board game. My mom whispered something to my dad, and he suddenly jumped up, ran to his room, grabbed a couple of guns, and came back out just as fast. He handed my mom a shotgun, told her to stay with us, and went outside with his pistol. After a few minutes, he came back in, looked throughout the house, and made a quick call. Both my parents looked white in the face, and seeing my dad like that scared the shit out of my siblings and me. They started explaining what scared them so bad and apologized for not believing us about seeing people. Apparently, my mom saw 2 people walk right by one of our windows. Then she saw them at another window on the other side of the room. That's when she alerted my dad to look, and they both said the people were pointing at my sister. After that, we went to a hotel and my dad met with a few cop buddies and staked out the house just in case. We got a dog the next day and moved out shortly after. After this incident, my dad became extremely religious and never looked back. We had a bunch of other weird shit sightings go on in the short time we lived there, but this one is the incident that stuck with me the most. Also, I'm not one to believe in ghosts, but nothing we saw at that house was human. After my parents both saw whatever it was at that house, everyone was kinda on edge before we moved. Being 7 years old in that environment sucked, especially being the baby of the family. My older brothers liked to scare me, so I wouldn't tag along when they were with their friends or doing whatever. So one afternoon, while our parents were at work, my brothers started walking down our long-ass driveway, headed to the store or to see a friend. And of course I saw them leaving, so I chased after them. About 25 yards down our driveway, they stopped and were just looking into some bushes we had lining the driveway. I heard them talking, but wasn't sure about what. When I got closer, they told me to run back inside. I was finally catching on to their tricks, so I said no and tried to see what they were looking at. I have bad eyesight and didn't have my glasses on, so I squinted and started moving closer. My oldest brother grabbed me by the shoulder and stopped me and told me to go inside and call Dad. I still thought they were messing with me, so I acted like I was going to, but I just grabbed my glasses and came back out. I saw them move into the bushes, yelling. Now I was starting to get scared, but I kept going to them. I was maybe 15 feet away from them when I finally saw a person crouched down. I started backing up and I yelled, "Dad's on his way. He's around the corner." Right when I said that, the guy sprang up, ran at both my brothers, punched one of them, and took off running. When the guy jumped up, I almost peed my pants, but I just ran inside and actually called my mom, Mama's boy. And then she called the cops and my dad. The cops caught the guy just a few blocks away and they knew him already. He was a tweaker and offender that would stare in windows to watch girls and was suspected of a couple of Christians. LA attracts the weirdos.
About a year ago today, my girlfriend and I came extremely close to danger, and here is what happened. We planned a camping trip all year for a trip to Bolin Lake in southern Oregon. We arrived and spent 2 days swimming, fishing, and screwing around. On the second night, we were the only ones on the entire lake. We hadn't built any fires due to extreme fire conditions and instead had lanterns. The lanterns attracted too many bugs the first nights, so we just got by with the moonlight and flashlights. We were laying on the shore of the lake on a blanket and stared up at the moon and sky. Off around the bend from us in a small inlet, we heard a huge splash. At first, we thought it was just another camper we failed to see. Then I thought it could be a bear or other wild animal. I shushed my girlfriend and we both listened intently. We heard somebody climbing out of the water and their wet footsteps slosh into the woods behind us. Our car was parked that way, and I wondered if this guy was headed to the parking lot. I walked the 1/4 mile back to the parking lot in the dark. I kept hearing the crunching of the dry forest leaves as my mysterious companion kept pace with me. I got to the parking lot first and ducked down behind a tree. From the other side of the lot, a man emerged in a bloody yellow loincloth. He was too far away to make out any features other than his bare chest and filthy hands and face. He was so dirty I figured he rubbed it onto himself. He walked up to the side of our car and looked inside. After finding nothing, he turned and walked out of the far side of the lot and onto the other vacant campgrounds. I squatted down deeper and tried to hold my breath so he couldn't hear me. I waited till he was gone for a good 3 minutes before coming out from behind the tree and returning to our tent. The dawn came a couple hours later and we eagerly got out of our tent. Probably 200 yards to our left was the guy from the parking lot. He was missing teeth and had a short buzz cut. His face was covered in ashes and he was catching crawdads out of the lake. I immediately got a creepy vibe from this guy. He saw we were up and started walking over to us. He had tattoos here and there and looked to be tweaked out of his mind. He asked us where we were from, standing there barefoot. We said California, figuring he'd already seen our plates. He asked how long we were camping for. We said we are packing up now. He asked if we had any food. My girl offered him a box of graham crackers. He opened it and ate it eagerly. Then he begged us for a ride back to California. I explained we are headed further into Oregon to Grants Pass. Then he asked us for some money. At this point, I lost my temper. "Hey, why don't you fuck off?" He turned and walked away. He had outlaw tattooed on his back. "Fuck you and your stupid bitch, watch your back." We immediately packed our shit out to the parking lot. I had a knife but no cell phone signal. But something told me this guy was going to get something and come back. We sped out of there, and 12 miles later hit the highway with a sigh of relief. We turned eastward and drove up the 199 towards Grants Pass. There was a cop checkpoint ahead. They showed me a poster of a man wanted for murder. A man missing teeth with a little more hair, but it was the guy. I told them I did see him on Lake Bolin. About 2 days later, I saw on the news they arrested the guy for murder. Turns out Daniel Martinson, 44, had a murder warrant for the November 2013 killing of 39-year-old Aaron Klauser of Cave Junction. I'm glad we left when we did. I know now he wanted our car to escape the area.
Before my dad got custody of me, I was living basically homeless. My mom didn't know where I was or care. Mostly she just did drugs. I'm 15, at the train tracks to get high with friends. I'm with just one girl. She's pretty twitchy. Whatever, the normals should get here soon. 2 hours with this crazy person, still nobody showed up. She starts saying he's coming. She runs off. I think I heard her laughing. I start running after her because anyone is better than no one. I've lost her. I decided to start heading back. Man, it's cold out here. I start stepping in some disgusting shit. I get down low to look at it. Dark liquid in footprints. I stand back up. A tall man is standing about 20 feet away. I call out to him. He's wheezing, facing away from me. He starts turning around. Dark, shiny eyes. Fuck that. I run faster than I ever have to another part of town. I didn't see him again that night, but that breathing still haunts me.
Be me, 23 last Monday around 4 a.m. I decided to take my dog for a walk. I decided to take our longest route. This route is very erratic for a specific reason. I don't want to be followed. I turn onto one of the very few busy streets along this route. I instantly feel spooked for no apparent reason as soon as we're on the busy street. I turn down the first neighborhood street behind some townhomes. I see a navy blue Prius pull into the first entrance of the parking area behind the townhomes. We cross the first entrance as the same car is about to leave. We're about to cross the second entrance when the car pulls in front of us. I didn't see her face. She said good morning and I said it back as she passed. I noticed she turned on her hazards and started parking in every available space. I get spooked again because I'm sure I saw her turn on the opposite side of the busy road I was just on. I take my dog off his leash and we nope the fuck out of there. We crossed the first ditch on our route. Now we're behind a school. No streets nearby. I have a clear view of another busy street I need to walk along to continue our route. I see what looks like the same Prius hauling ass down the street. Kids aren't in school yet, so the grass is still tall. I grab my dog and we crouch down for a little bit to see if the car goes by again. It doesn't. We continue and don't see the car again. We're about to cross the last ditch before the street that leads to my street. Mind you, I'm coming back from the opposite direction of which I left. I think nothing of the only car parked on the opposite side of the ditch. The car turns on its hazards and turns down the street I need to go down, parking in every open driveway. Instantly, I nope the fuck out of there, because this Fed knows my fucking route. I got to a busy street and kept walking until the sun came up.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.